Alright, so welcome back. We're going to look at a slightly more complicated object, exporting this from Rhino and working with it in Prusa Slicer. We're going to talk about support blockers and generating support material for slightly complicated objects. So as you can see, this is kind of like an L shape. We've got two holes passing through it, and these can create, slightly more difficult situations for a printer to utilize. So we're going to look at this. We're going to export it. We're going to check and see I am in millimeters. So you can see that is 1 inch across and 2 inches high. So we're going to select that, go to File, Export Selected, and you can see I've already exported it there, but make sure you have STL selected, and we're going to save that. Yes. I've still kept my 0.5 millimeter spacing, maximum distance between the original surface or solid and the polygon mesh. And that seemed to work out pretty good for the last one. This one I think is just about as simple. It's got these slightly rounded features that make up the holes, but I don't think that's going to add any more complexity that we have to make that a much larger number. I'm going to say OK. And we've got binary selected, so that's good. So OK, and we'll go over to Prusa Slicer. So once that opens for us, first thing I'm going to check is my printer. So the MK3S is good. Remember, generally you'd be doing a MK3 or MK3S for your printer selection. Generic PLA is still good. And we're going to do the 0.2 millimeter quality setting. Go over to File and import our STL. And so there's the L-shaped STL. We'll open that up. And here you can see it comes in. We've got a bit of an overhang here. So it's like a 90-degree overhang. So that'll definitely require support material. And the way that we want to set that up is, as you can see under here, the supports. Generally, I'll say everywhere first, just to see where it goes to. Detect bridging perimeters. Yes, so we'll just see what that looks like, and we'll slice it. Okay, so here we can see that pretty successfully generated support material under this big 90-degree overhang area, and we've generated it inside the hole that passes through the object. Generally, circular holes do not need support. So there's a couple ways we can handle that. First, we're going to look at using support blockers, and then we'll look at a different support setting. So to use a support blocker, go back to our 3D editor view. You want to make sure your object is selected, so it's green, and you right click on it, and you can say add either support enforcer or add support blocker. So support enforcers build extra support material where you put them. Support blocker will block it. So we've got a cylinder shaped feature, so we're going to use a cylinder shaped blocker. So once we've got the cylinder in, we're going to rotate it. So I'm going to rotate around this axis here. So it should lock at 270. So, and then I'm going to move it into my object. And then I'm going to scale that. Scale that down a bit. Scale that out. Down. And pull that out just a little bit more. There. So that should, as you can see, it's kind of a, as long as it's covering the feature you want it to. That's all that really matters. Doesn't have to be perfectly centered or anything. There. So you can see it's blocking that hole. So when we go to slice it again, we don't generate support there, and that is the ideal situation. That hole won't have any issue sagging or anything like that. Great. So the other way you can generate support without having to use support blockers, so if I delete this, select it and hit the delete key, under supports I can just say support on build plate only. So it'll only build, or it'll only support things that it can build support material from the build plate up to.
Here's the top search result.
So once you've got that set, you can see no support material there, and we've got support material underneath the overhang itself. So I can pull that down, and we can see how the support material builds. So you can see there's these kind of gap areas here. And what that's doing is it's determining that is acting like a bridge. So it's only supporting the exterior area and then the area around the hole. For this particular situation, I'd need to dive in a little bit deeper into print settings. So looking at these tabs here in the upper left, let's click on print settings, and we want to go to support material. So there's two things that I'm going to want to change in here. And one you'll do pretty much all the time. You'll want to check is the contact Z distance. So that's the air gap between the top of the support material and your part. So we can see the default value for detachable support material is 0.2. So I'm going to put that back to 0.2. And we have don't support bridges is checked. So we want to uncheck that. So now when I slice it, I'll have all of that area supported. And for this part in particular, I think that's how I would set it up. And that support material should come off pretty easily. With that 0.2 millimeter air gap, that should be sufficient. Now, you know, normally in an ideal world, I would orient this on the build plate in a different way, and we'll talk about that in a second. But you know, for some reason you may want to print this like so, for maybe some mechanical reason, you know, the way the plastic needs to build based on how the holes are oriented, or for, you know, any number of reasons really. But in an ideal world, you would want to build it on its side like so, and there are no overhangs truly except, you know, the overhang in the hole, which we know doesn't need support material, as those are generally very safe to build with. Okay. Once again, like once you're done slicing and you've got it oriented the way you want, and you've checked all your settings, you know, maybe you want your infill, you know, up or down. Maybe you want it at 10%. And once you've kind of checked that off the list, you'll want to save project as your 3MF again. And there you have it. You should be good to go. And that should be plenty of information for me to take a look at and get your print sent to the printer. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.